Hey y'all, welcome back to Andrea Speaks TV. I'm your host Andrea, back to bring you news and commentary you can use. Listen y'all, I want to come on and talk about a story, a very tragic story, very concerning story out of Fort Worth, Texas. You may or may not have heard it, but today, okay, which is Monday, January 8th, there are reports that there was a massive explosion, okay, a massive explosion in Fort Worth, Texas, okay. So let me give you some details on that, all right? Listen, y'all, according to my sources, okay, an explosion in the basement of the Sandman Signature Hotel in downtown Fort Worth on Monday blew out windows on the first and second floors of the 20-story hotel, sending debris in the streets. My goodness, okay. Multiple people at the time of this article, at the time of this video, multiple people were injured, with 21 of them hospitalized or treated on the scene. That's according to the fire department and MedStar. Okay, now let's get more into exactly what's going on about this explosion. My sources say that the explosion at the historic Wagner building, okay, located at 810 Houston Street, rocked downtown shortly after 3:30 p.m. Debris was reportedly scattered hundreds of feet around the front of the building and out the rear toward Throckmorton Street, okay? I've never been to Fort Worth, Texas. And so, you know, let me know if you all have any insight or if you know of this area or if you've been to this area. Okay, I pray for everyone who was in this area, those who were hurt, the family of those who, you know, were somehow involved, not involved as in they had something to do with it, but involved as in you know, being hurt or they were working there or somewhere near in that area. Okay, so I pray for them and I hope they're well, and you know that there are no serious injuries. Okay, so the Sandman Signature Hotel, my sources say, opened less than a year ago, okay, and included a basement level restaurant where the explosion is believed to have occurred. Okay, so at the basement of this hotel, they're saying there's a restaurant, and that is where they believe that the explosion took place, okay? A Fort Worth Fire Department spokesperson said at a news conference Monday evening that, and I quote, "This was some type of gas explosion, okay? Some type of natural gas explosion, but the exact cause remains under investigation, okay? With the assistance of the arson unit, ATF, and the FBI, okay? There was a strong smell of gas, okay, reportedly in the area, but it was initially unknown whether the gas leak was the cause or it happened as a result of the explosion. Okay, now, my sources also say that the gas company, Atmos, was also on the scene assisting. Okay, of the known who were injured, okay, the sources say 14 were transported to hospitals, with one person in critical condition and 4 in serious condition, while the others had minor injuries, and one person self-transported to the hospital. I guess they took their own self, or maybe someone took them, authorities said. Okay, firefighters rescued people who were trapped in the basement and from some of the 26 rooms that were occupied in the hotel. Okay, the explosion, the sources say, appeared to be in the kitchen of Museum Restaurant, according to Jose Mira, who works there. Mira was covered in dust and even had an injury to his arm. Okay, he said that he was able to climb out of the rubble. All right, he described the scene as being everything. He described the scene as, and I quote, "Everything fell, the walls, the floor, everything," he said. Okay, and he also said it was a miracle to still be alive. Okay, now the fire department took action. They shut down the streets and buildings in a 2-block radius. Okay, as firefighters searched for any more injured people in what they're calling the mass casualty incident. Okay, the immediate concerns, and that was a quote, by the way. Okay, the fire department shut down streets and buildings in a 2-block radius as firefighters searched for any more injured people in what they're describing as, and I quote, mass casualty incident. Okay, the immediate concerns were search and rescue efforts and extinguishing the fire, which was out Monday evening. The next steps, okay, they're reporting, will include evaluating the structural integrity of the building, and that is according to authorities. Okay, one person from the fire department said this, and I quote, "We need to be able to walk out of that building and know definitely that we've gotten everybody out. Okay, construction. Okay, here's something that I learned. Construction was ongoing at the restaurant, but it's not yet known whether that contributed to the explosion, according to the fire department. Okay, a representative of the restaurant said, however, that no construction was going on. Okay, the Asian Fusion restaurant opened last summer. The restaurant was closed at the time of the explosion and normally opens at 5 p.m. for dinner. All right. The co-founders of Museum's restaurant, one of the co-founders said in a statement, and I quote, "All of us at Museum are devastated by the tragic explosion that took place this afternoon at the Sandman Signature Hotel, which is the home of our restaurant." Okay, these are in the words of the co-founder, Josh Babb. Okay, luckily, Museum was closed during the time of the explosion, so we had no customers dining and limited employees working. 3 Museum employees were injured but are being treated in the hospital and are in stable condition. Now, the city's fire department also said, according to my sources, that people could reunite with their loved ones at the Sundance Square parking lot at 5th and Throckmorton Streets. The area around the hotel has been closed off. Okay, now witnesses. There were some witnesses around the time that this happened. Witnesses reportedly described people coming out of the hotel with injuries to their face. And people were on stretchers. Okay, people said that they had family members in the hotel and that they were injured. Okay, I could imagine, without going into much detail, right? We can imagine this was a frantic scene. People were nervous, right? And not really sure what was going on. Okay. One lady, okay, one resident at a nearby apartment building said that she normally walks by the building on her way home, but something told her not to. Okay. She was reported as saying, and I quote, "When I heard the boom, I was in the middle of the street to see it firsthand." She said, "Oh my God, it was the scariest thing I've ever seen." Okay. Another resident, okay, who lived half a block from the hotel, said she and her husband felt the explosion shake the entire street. From their building's garage, they could see the damage wrought by the explosion. Okay. And it was described as whole sections of windows blown onto Houston Street, leaving empty frames behind, a hole in the sidewalk on 8th Street, a covering for a bus stop completely tipped over. Okay, and it was described as, and I quote, "just debris everywhere." Okay, several, of course, quite naturally, something like this happening, especially in the downtown area, right? Numerous police officers of the first responders were on the scene. And they even, shared this information on Twitter. Okay, now the Wagner Building, listed on the National Register of Historic Places, was built in 1920. This is the second Sandman Signature Hotel in the United States. The first was built, just to give you some history and facts, the first was built in 2018 in Plano. The brand is part of Vancouver-based Northland Properties, which is Canada's largest privately owned hospitality company and hotels and resorts across Canada, and more recently in the UK. Okay. The company's president, Tom Glaggerty, has owned the NHL, National Hockey League, Dallas Stars Hockey Club since 2011. He also owns the Texas Stars of the American Hockey League. Okay. So y'all let me know your thoughts. Now, I will say this, okay? There's a lot going on, we know, in the world, in our country. And even if we, look at past events, right? If we look at past events in American history where, such as 9/11, okay, such as, the bombings of the World Trade Center, okay? Did you know, I believe it was back in the 90s, okay, there was a bombing there. So to what I'm saying is not to bring up, I'm not trying to create a sad video, right? But I'm just using that as an example to show how with those situations, even in during the 96 Olympics, okay, there was a bombing there where someone, lost their life. A lady lost her life. When people hear and see things like this, they automatically, for some people, it takes them back to memories of different situations in history happening. It causes them to panic. It puts them on edge. We wonder, a lot of times right away, okay, is this an attack? What's going on? So there are a lot of questions. What I said all that to say that there are a lot of questions surrounding this event. I pray that the people, like I said, who were in the area, at the time that this happened. I pray that they're well. I pray that they're healed. I pray for their families who, you know, I know that this is a very nerve-wracking time for them, as well as those who were there at the time, okay? And I hope that, you know, there's some answers. A lot of people have questions. Quite certainly those who were injured, right? Who were injured in this situation, who were there, you know, and were somehow impacted or affected. You know, they have the right to have their answers, the answers given to their questions. So we'll know more, hopefully in the coming days, about what happened, what's going on. But again, it comes at a time where when we hear things like this, we instantly, because there's so much going on, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? There's so much going on in the world, whether it's here in the United States or across seas, right? Overseas, abroad. And when we hear things like this, we instantly, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You just instantly, it's sometimes for some people, like I said, it takes you back to memories in the past, things that have happened here in America in history. You know, you just wonder, like, what's really going on, okay? Let me know your thoughts on this. Again, this is news out of Fort Worth, Texas, okay? A lot of times when I hear of Fort Worth, okay, I hear it said like Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. Again, I've never been to this area. And so let me know your thoughts, okay? Thank you all so much for trusting me to continue to bring you news and news and commentary you can use. I'll see you in the next video, okay? Take care.